your home for Columbus Sports Radio. It's the Press Box on 95.7, 1580 The Zone. Appreciate you all hanging out with us on this Tuesday afternoon, whether you're at the house, in the car heading to the house, or still stuck at the JOB. As always, we appreciate you all hanging out with your boys in the box and making us a part of your day. Special guest right now, you all are familiar with Jeremy Williams here locally, former head coach, and a heck of an inspiration. What a story. A lot of obstacles that this family has had to overcome, and they're still trying to overcome obstacles. Jeremy is very sick with Lou Gehrig's disease. His wife is also sick. They got a couple kids, and they continue to stay positive, and they're very, very religious folks. And actually, they have a movie that's coming out, and it came out today. It is called Season of a Lifetime. We have the director, the producer on the phone right now, Rick Cohen, with Endorphin Entertainment, correct? Come on in, Rick. Welcome to the Press Box, Rick. It's a pleasure to have you. Thanks for taking the time to join us, and thanks for sharing the story here with us here in the Press Box in Columbus, Georgia.
Great. I'm honored to be on the show.
So, buddy, Rick, let's start off from the beginning. You and Jeremy Williams, how far do you guys go back?
You know, we don't go back very far. December of 2009, there was an article written by Michael Carville in the AJC on Jeremy Williams during his undefeated season that year. Mm-hmm. And how sort of through his disease it inspired the boys to play their best football and go undefeated in the regular season, and they wound up losing in the second round of the playoffs. My business partner, Chris Polero, called me up and said, "Hey, Rick, you should take a look at this story. This should be our next movie." And I kind of peeked at it, and I was really interested in doing another story about the poker world. And I won't get into specifics on that particular story. But I said, oh, wow, that's a lot of traveling. And, God, you know, that's really tough to watch a man go through ALS. I don't know. And he's like, well, let's just look into it. So I knew through a friend, I knew how to get to Jeremy Williams. And I had to go through a couple of doors to actually get to Jeremy. And Jeremy invited Chris and I down. And we came after the holidays in January. I remember it was a really cold day in Greenville. And I showed up. And Jeremy was, he was still in pretty decent shape at that time. Mm-hmm. And he sat down and he said to me, so, Rick, HBO, ESPN, they're all wanting to do stories on me. Why should I do this with you? And I said to him, well, has any of those big companies come down here and visited you in Little Greenville, Georgia? And he said, well, no, not yet. And I said, well, I guess they don't want it bad enough, do they? And we kind of laughed about that and sort of broke the ice.
Okay.
But something interesting happened right after that, and that was he said, look, I can't give you an answer on whether or not I want to do this with you for about 4 weeks. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that's about, but, why don't you just get back to me in 4 weeks? And he says, I can't explain why. Just know that I'm going to be out of pocket for 4 weeks. And I like to joke around about this because Jeremy's such a faith-based guy. I waited 40 days and 40 nights for Jeremy to come back to me. And I finally got a call in March. And Jeremy said, look, Rick, the reason why I couldn't talk to you was Extreme Makeover Home Edition came in.
Oh, yeah.
And took away my phone and my laptop and they sent us on a trip, and I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. And, I started seeing, stars in my eyes because I was like, wow, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, what a great vehicle to sort of launch this story.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
That was just like free marketing for me. And so then Jeremy said, my wife and I, we prayed on it. We do everything that we do, we pray on. And you're our guy. And I was like, you do know that I'm Jewish. Cohen, C-O-H-E-N. And he's like, yeah, we prayed on it, and you're our guy. And I'm like, well, great. And we started to get to work. The very first thing that we did was the first week in April, we followed Jeremy back to the University of Memphis, which was, at the time was Memphis State University when he attended. And Jeremy was being honored. An award was named after him for best spring practice football player, and he was being honored, and all his buddies were there and former coaches, and the head coach was a teammate of his. So it was a really great way to launch into shooting, being around all his friends and going to Memphis and, seeing where he played football. It was just a great start.
Huh. That's a cool way to meet him. I guess, did you have time frame? Did you have concerns that he might not be able to finish what he started?
I had no doubt that Jeremy was going to make it through the season. I had no doubt. And a lot of people did have doubt. A lot of people said, in fact, if you watch the film, Jeremy's former coach down in Griffin, he said, I don't know if Jeremy's going to even make it through the summer with the heat.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeremy is a tough individual. Anybody who knows him knows that just the way he played football and the way he tackled on the field, he tackles life just the same way. And I had no doubt he was going to make it through the season.
Yeah, I heard he was I'm not from here, Rick. I just moved here about almost 3 years now. Yep. So I'm coming in on the back end of this story. The story was already unraveling before I even got here. So I didn't know a lot about him until just recently, and look forward to seeing the movie. It is available now, correct?
Yes, it is. It's on DVD and also on other digital platforms such as Amazon, iTunes, Hulu, Netflix. I believe the launch was today or tomorrow. We had some audio issues that I had to clear up, and I did that last week, so I believe it's going to be available. And I also know that there's a church exhibition that will take place of a 60-minute version of the 90-minute film, which is kind of cool. So,
yeah, that's coming up. I don't have the date on that, but I can get that for our listening audience in the future. As you shot through this through the whole piece, can you tell from beginning to end the progression in his disease? Does he get worse throughout the piece?
Oh, it's really incredible, actually. From the first day we were shooting to the last day, and I think the wear and tear of the season. Yeah. I don't want to say the pressure of being on film, because we were pretty unintrusive, and Jeremy will tell you that himself. We weren't Extreme Makeover with 16 cameras. We were usually one camera or two cameras, except for the football games. And Jeremy, his speech was leaving him. His gait was slowing down to the point where eventually he was in a chair full time. Yep. By the end of the year, his breathing was laboring. And of course, there was the choice of getting the trach, which he chose not to do, and lasted almost a year beyond when the doctor told him he needed one, which is really remarkable. It is. And I'll tell you, Jeremy is alive and well, and although he's in this sort of state of, where he doesn't have his physical capabilities, mentally he's as strong as ever. He sends me text messages all the time. He's just an amazingly inspiring and wonderful man. Really, that's all I can say. Anybody that's ever met him can say that, and he's one of the few people I know who I've never met anyone who didn't have any enemies until I met Jeremy Williams. So,
as a producer and a director of a piece like this, how do you attack this? How do you go at this? I don't mean to compare your piece to one that's national, because there is no comparison, but it's something that I have to compare it to. The movie 42, when you're talking about Jackie Robinson, they concentrated on just basically that one time in his life, that particular season, which is what I'm getting from you, is that you pretty much concentrated on this one particular season. How do you come to that? How do you come to that understanding, that decision, when you're molding a movie as a director, as a producer, when you can go in so many different ways? You could have picked this up from when he was a child. You could have picked it up when he was in high school. You know, how do you decide where to go with something like this?
You know, I have my own style and things, and I think if you've seen any of my other movies, it's pretty similar. I like to tell stories in pieces and go back in time as I'm telling it in present day.
Okay.
So in other words, you'll get a very linear story told, but maybe every 10 or 15 minutes I'll send you back in time to let you see. Yeah. For instance, you asked about Jeremy Williams as a player. Well, when we go to Memphis, I take you back to when he played on the field. And I have some amazing Jeremy Williams highlights of a 5'9", 177-pound football player.
Very cool.
Laying out a 250-pound tight end over the middle. So I decided from day one that I was doing the story linear. And, you know, in fact, later on, I actually wrote a screenplay on Jeremy that is completely different from the movie that I made, because I actually go back and start from the beginning of his life and go through. Whereas this movie starts, you know, when he's a 39-year-old man already well into the disease and deciding, hey, I'm going to go one more year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the decision I made. And it's funny because I wasn't a big fan of 42. I thought it was very generic to me. It just didn't pull me in. And I thought it was a bad choice to choose one season, because Jackie Robinson's life and his effect, you know, was so great on this on the sports world in this country and broke so many barriers.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it needed to cover more than 1 year.
I agree.
So,
I thought that too after I saw it. Although I thought it was decent. I liked the movie, but I thought that there was Jackie Robinson had a lot more to offer than just that one season, and
He did.
I thought they kind of slighted us by going at it the way they went at it.
Yeah.
Can I ask you?
Even his steal home against the Yankees, in that one series, you know, was something that was lacking for me, and I thought the movie was very safe. You know, I feel like that we weren't safe in Season of a Lifetime, although there were restrictions on what I could and couldn't film, which definitely affected the final outcome of this movie, and which I'm very proud of, by the way. You know, one of the things that Jeremy was very protective about was the kids. And the kids had some tragic backstories. I cover them in the film through interviews, but I didn't go to their homes. I didn't talk to their families. I didn't shoot them outside of the football field or the school. And that was one thing that Jeremy insisted upon, you know, protecting the kids. And I respected that. You know, and then also there were certain things about the progression of Jeremy's disease, you know, out of respect for him that I didn't show.
Sure.
And there was not really a need to, because it's not that kind of a movie. It's, you know, it's not a movie about a man dying. It's a movie about a man who continues to live through a terrible affliction, you know? So that's why we chose to do what we did.
You mentioned that you did a few other movies. What are the names, Rick?
Well, my first film is sort of a cult favorite. It's called Faded Glory. I shot it back in 2007. It was released in 2009. And, you know, it did quite well. We did very well on the film festival circuit. I went back to find 15 of my amateur baseball teammates from 1990 on up.
Wow.
And I brought them back to play in the 38 and over National Amateur Baseball World Series.
Wow.
But the story is really about the trials and tribulations of life of a 40-year-old man, myself included, amongst my teammates. And it covers everything. And, you know, I always use this sort of standard fare. I say it has the 7 I's, which is incarceration, intervention, infidelity, incompetence, injuries, illnesses, and insanity. I can't believe I still remember that. So, and then I did some really cool small films that played on GPB. 2 of them during the high school championships here in Georgia. One was Dome to Dome, which carried Walton from the beginning of their season to the end of their season, when they actually went 14-0 and made it to the final game against Grayson. I covered John East's story over at Walker last year. Very interesting story about a coach and his redemption in life, coming back to football after 20 years of not coaching and leading a team to an undefeated regular season. And then there was another film that I did, which actually was the one right after Fate of Glory, which was And the Lord Said, Smack Him in the Mouth, which is kind of one of the funniest titles you'll ever see for a film, but it was a expose on high school football at a Christian school in the South.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And all three you can see on, I believe you can find them on YouTube. So if you want to see that, you can look it up on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
And we're talking to Rick Cohen, director, producer, Season of a Lifetime, the Jeremy Williams story. And thank you for taking time to call us. My name's Pun. I'm Bobby Z's right-hand buddy. And,
hey, well, nice to meet you, man. You got any questions?
I do. I do. A movie like this, you inevitably become closer to your subject. Yep. What toll did this take out on you personally?
That was my next question. Did you? Yeah. And did you change throughout the process at all, personally?
Oh, absolutely. It was twofold. You know,
good question.
I always get this question asked, and again, I bring it up because you know, I'm from the Jewish faith. When I appeared at certain churches in the South, people immediately said, "Hey, you know, what's your belief? Are you a believer?" And you know, I said, "Look, this is the best answer I can give you. I understand why people are faith-based because I saw how Jeremy Williams uses his faith to get through tragedies such as this. Mm-hmm. But if you ask Jeremy, this is not a tragedy. This was a blessing to him. He doesn't call it a tragedy. He believes that if this didn't happen, his message, his word would not be able to be passed around the country and maybe the world one day. So I got that. I understood that, and I know where that is coming from. Yeah. And it gave me a greater appreciation of why people are so strongly rely on God to get through certain things in life. Yep. That's one. Jeremy and I absolutely became like brothers for a while. I wish I could see him more often, but we live so far away, it's hard. And he knows I love him and I do appreciate him and I think about him a lot. And, you know, I feel really good about the way the movie came out because the family was very happy, my partners were happy, I was happy, the community. So that's very satisfying to a filmmaker to know it's hard to please everybody. I feel like I pleased everybody in this film.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
I did a good job, and you know that's all that you can ask for in life.
Give it up
for
him.
You don't need Oscars and awards.
Very nice. Very well said. Anything else, Pun?
I'm actually just really looking forward to checking this film out. And the other films you have mentioned, the Smack Me in the Mouth. I love that title.
Oh, it's a great one.
Yeah, it is.
Do you remember, Rick, do you remember a book when you were younger? They made me read it when I was in grade school because all I did, I had a reading teacher, and we gave book reports for extra credit, and all I did was read sports books. That's all I ever read was sports books, and he made me read Catcher in the Rye, and then he made me read this other one, Do Black Patent Leather Shoes Really Reflect Up? And that was a Catholic-based a book, and I come from the Catholic religion, went to a Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, and that was a funny one. But I did reconnect with that teacher just about a year ago. Yeah, his name's Bob Radomski. He's still alive, living in Milwaukee. And I told him, I said, "Hey, Mr. Radomski, you remember when I used to read nothing but sports books?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, guess what I do for a living? I'm a sports guy. I actually do a sports talk show." And he said, "Well, I'll bet you you had to use Catcher in the Rye once upon a time." And I said, "Yeah, I did when I talked about John Lennon getting killed." But yeah, it is. Well,
I'll tell you something that's really
book.
I like picking titles for my film, and sometimes they just pick themselves.
Yeah.
And this one did. The coach's name is Jimmy Fields, and he's at Whitfield Academy. Actually, here's an interesting connection. The same people who are distributing Courageous and Facing the Giant, some of those really great faith-based movies that came out in the last couple of years, are distributing my film as well. And Jimmy Field's wife is actually in the movie Courageous. She plays the wife in that movie. She's an actress. So Jimmy's in the locker room giving a speech to his team, and he says, continue to be a blessing by hitting somebody in the mouth and honoring God and showing them what a real man does. He honors God and he hits people in the mouth. Now get out the door. Let's go. And I was like, well, there's my title. And the Lord said, smack him in the mouth.
Nice.
So,
nice.
That's kind of how it came about. But, look, this is an interesting career I chose. If you're looking to get rich, this is not the way to do it. But if you want to be really satisfied in life about the work that you do and how you affect people, then it's a really great job.
One last question for me.
Yeah.
When you sit down with your bowl of popcorn and me, I'm a Coke Zero guy, and you pick one sports film to watch, which one is it? Which one's your favorite?
Oh, geez. I have to give you two because one's a comedy and one's a drama, and they're two different films, like completely different films. First off, throughout this process, I've become very good friends with David Ansbaugh and Angelo Pizzo. And that team are the director and writer of what I think are two of the greatest sports movies of all time, Hoosiers and Rudy. Rudy, to this day, is still my favorite dramatic sports movie. I still get choked up when he makes the tackle at the end and they put him on their shoulders.
No, I get tears in my eyes, bud. Every time I get tears in my eyes when I see that.
Here's the thing, and I'm giving this away. When you watch Season of a Lifetime, the real Rudy Rudiger makes an appearance and meets Coach Williams.
Really?
Yep. So I've just kind of given that away, but it's a great moment in the middle of the film. Two of the most inspiring people I know together face to face.
How'd you pull that off? How'd you pull that off, Rick?
Well, from David Ansbaugh. I called David, and Rudy was in town doing a public speaking engagement.
Wow.
And I called the CEO of the company, and I said, look, you got to loan me this guy for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know you're paying him X amount of money to speak, but you got to give him to me for 2 hours. And I told him why, and he finally caved in.
Good for him.
So Rudy's my favorite dramatic, and by far, not even close. And I know people are going to argue and say it's Caddyshack, it's all these other films. Slapshot to me is the funniest movie ever made, sports, comedy, anywhere. And here's an interesting fact in that movie. It was written by a woman.
Really?
It was written by a woman named Nancy Dowd, whose brother was actually Ogie Oglethorpe in the movie Slapshot. If you remember the movie, that's her brother. And what she did was she followed him in real life around, the minor leagues.
Wow. And, you're talking about one of the three brothers, right, with the glasses?
No. I'm not talking about the Hanson brothers. I'm talking about Ogie Oglethorpe.
I remember the name.
Outside the end of the movie.
I remember the name.
The Hanson brothers.
Okay.
I actually stared at my Hanson Brothers jersey. I've got a jersey in my house that's a real Hanson Brothers jersey.
Cool.
And so those are my two movies. Rudy and Slapshot.
Those guys were freaking icons, man. And they were actually even up till a handful of years ago. They were running those guys around the country, and they were still doing appearances at low-level hockey games, man. The Hanson brothers.
Paul Newman's greatest performance was in Slapshot. It wasn't HUD, and it wasn't The Verdict where he won an Oscar. It was Slapshot. You robbed.
Love it. Hey, Rick, I want to get you out of here. Hell, we spent almost a half an hour talking to you, and I'm sure I could spend another half an hour. But before I let you go, I want to commend you for the work that you've done with Jeremy. It was your calling, my friend, and I hope you have the most success that you've had with any film, for obvious reasons, for you and for the family as well. Let us know one more time before you get out of here how we can get the movie, how we can see it, and how we can help out Jeremy Williams' family.
Well, first off, there's a website now created by the distribution company, and it's just basically seasonofalifetime.com. It'll take you straight to a lot of different digital platforms. You can go on Amazon, right now. You can also go on Hulu. And by the way, on Amazon it says starring me, but I'm not starring in the movie, so I don't know why they did that. You can go to iTunes, I believe, Netflix. Not 100% sure, but if you go to the website, that should be able to give you information. My website, my company's website is endorphinentertainment.com. So if you want to check out me and my work and my team's work, that's my company.
Okay.
And shout out to my 3 partners on this, Chris Polero before, Bob McAllister, and Jason Haley, Fisheye Media. The 4 of us, we really labored through this. And Matt Ruggles, my DP, who was pretty much on every shoot I was on. Without those guys, I can't do it. And one more woman, Kimberly Thomas, who just got married. She was my assistant, and she was amazing as well.
Oh, that's good.
Rick, appreciate you much. God bless. We taped this. If you want it, I'll be glad to send it off to you.
Absolutely.
Via email.
Absolutely.
I'll connect with you in the future. Congratulations.
Thank
I can't
you,
wait
Rick.
to see the product.
Yeah.
Season of a lifetime, my friend. Rick Cohen, the producer, the director, and all-around good guy, and dear friend of Jeremy Williams. Appreciate you, Rick.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really enjoyed this. A lot of fun.
God bless, man. Take care. Great story.
Yeah.
Great story. And look forward to seeing the movie, and look forward to hearing more about Jeremy Williams and his fight with ALS, and how many people this guy touches along the way.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks again, Rick. All right, let's get Brian in here before